76% of Pakistanis in Bradford marry their first cousins.
I know.
Pakistanis make up 3%. Pakistani men make up 3% of the UK population, or Pakistanis do. They're responsible for 33% of child defects at birth.
I've seen
They are being born retarded. It's costing us a fortune. It's costing the economy a fortune. It's billions and billions because Mohammed married his cousin. Well, I don't care what Mohammed done in the 7th century because he was a barbarian warlord people. So enacting what he done, no, it's no longer right. It's never been right, and it has to stop in Great Britain.
The debate over cousin marriages within British Pakistani communities has once again been thrust into the spotlight following remarks from far-right activist Tommy Robinson. His comments, provocative and deeply inflammatory, framed the practice as both a cultural relic and a financial burden on the UK economy. But the reality, as with many issues Robinson seeks to weaponize, is more complex than sound bites and shock rhetoric suggest. It is true that research over the past 2 decades has highlighted higher rates of cousin marriages in certain Pakistani heritage communities, particularly in areas such as Bradford, Birmingham, and parts of Yorkshire. A 2013 study suggested that around 55-70 of British Pakistanis marry a cousin, compared with far lower rates among the wider population. Medical experts have raised concerns about the potential for higher rates of congenital disorders in communities where consanguineous marriages are common. However, specialists caution against using these figures as blunt instruments. The link between cousin marriage and congenital disabilities is not as stark or as simplistic as critics portray. While certain risks are elevated, factors such as poverty, access to healthcare, and lack of genetic screening play an equally significant role. According to the HAs, congenital disorders overall remain relatively rare in the UK, and public health experts argue that tackling inequality in access to medical support is as important as debating marriage patterns. The controversy taps into wider debates about multiculturalism, integration, and national identity in Britain. Successive governments have wrestled with how to encourage social cohesion while respecting cultural diversity. The cousin marriage debate, though rooted in medical science, often becomes a proxy battleground for questions about immigration, Islam, and the future of British society. For some, Robinson's blunt denunciations appear to give voice to frustrations long ignored by mainstream politicians. For others, his language serves only to stigmatize communities, inflame tensions, and obstruct the difficult, detailed work of public health reform. The truth about cousin marriage in Britain lies somewhere between the statistics and the rhetoric. Yes, there are legitimate concerns, medical, economic, and social, that deserve open and evidence-based discussion. But when campaigners like Tommy Robinson frame the issue as a sweeping indictment of an entire faith and people, the debate shifts from public health into culture war. And that shift, while politically expedient for some, risks leaving the real challenges, education, healthcare access, and meaningful community engagement unaddressed.
Tube strikes are back. The RMT union has announced 7 days of rolling walkouts across the London Underground and Docklands Light Railway from Friday, September the 5th. Some would say conveniently timed for just after the school holidays. The dispute is over pay, long shifts and working conditions. Now, TfL offered a 3.4% pay rise, but says that cutting the 35-hour week isn't affordable. One estimate puts the cost of a single strike at 14 million quid. It's a lot of money, that. Tube drivers earn around £67,500 a year, with 43 days leave and free travel perks. However, shifts can run from early morning to past midnight. Some shift patterns have seen people working for 17 weekends in a row, for example. During the initial 12 to 16 weeks of training, trainee drivers can still earn about £32,500 a year. The union warns that action will cause major disruption across the capital, which is obviously the point of it, isn't it? But there we go. Anyway, I'm joined now by our political commentator, trade unionist.
I am.
Trade unionist, Andy Twelves. Andy, why why are the unions intent on making all of our lives so miserable?
Well, I don't think they are. I think they're standing up for working class people, fundamentally. I mean, if you're getting off shift at 2 a.m, you should not be expected to get back on shift at 6 or 7 a.m, fundamentally, particularly in these kind of sensitive jobs, whether it's signalling, tube driver, electricians. These are quite serious jobs. They're technical jobs. You shouldn't be fatigued when you're working them.
Class on 67.5 grand a year.
Well, I mean, that's the top end of tube drivers. I mean, an electrician wouldn't be paid that. A signaller wouldn't get paid that. I think classes probably goes beyond salary. I mean, that's an entire academic debate about what class means. But it's by the by. I think the RMT are actually standing up for what's right here. TfL have gone back on their written word about these shift patterns. They said that they were going to abolish the shift patterns where if you were on a late, you wouldn't work an early the next day. Right. If your boss had gone back on, what they'd said to you about working shift patterns, you'd be pretty upset.
Well, I was funny you should say that because I tended to just do it, actually. But 43 days leave. You get your sleep then, can't you? 43
days leave. I mean, that's on top. I mean, that's what bank holidays required annual. So it's actually what is it 6 days that they actually get that's a privilege? And it's 35.
43 days off work, mate. You can't.
43. Yeah, but fundamentally, if you're getting off shift at 2 a.m, you shouldn't be going back on at 6. That makes sense. That's not a controversial thing to say. They say what the cost of the tube strike is 15 million
roughly
a day. That's how valuable they are to this capital. It's how valuable they are to this city. If TfL are going to be splitting hairs about shift patterns, it's costing TfL 15 million a day. That's how much they're worth. I think it's ridiculous that they're trying to, make the case that workers should be working 2 a.m, 6 a.m.
They knew this was the case when they took the job, though, didn't they?
Well, I mean, yes and no. They weren't.
It would be like Emily marrying me, right, and then being really disappointed that I'm not 6'4" and ripped. She knew what she was getting.
I suppose.
No, it's true. Well, I mean, so why should,
I think the contracts probably say occasional weekend work, not 17 weekends in a row. 17 weekends in a row is pretty nuts. Particularly if you're working, undesirable shift patterns on those as well. I mean, let's not villainise these people. These are hard-working people.
It depends, though, doesn't it, really, mate? Because if you're working 17 weekends in a row, but then you get Wednesdays and Thursdays off, then that's your weekend, isn't it? So I used to work nights, so I used to finish at 6 a.m, but then 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. was my evening, because those were the shifts. That's what it is.
Sure, I appreciate that. I think the contracts probably say occasional weekend work, I imagine is what it is.
Are they not just crying because they basically just want a load more money and they're willing to inconvenience people's lives?
Well, not really, because there's not really a pay demand. There's not a pay demand in this. TfL have tried to give them a pay...
It's the same level of pay for less work.
Well, TfL have tried to give them a pay demand... Well, they're asking for the shifts to be patterned differently, so you're not working back-to-back shifts on the kind of graveyard shift. That's what they're asking. TfL have offered a pay increase to kind of subdue them and push them off the kind of scheduling. Okay. It's a scheduling issue.
Just quickly, what does Labour actually do about this? Because Labour is obviously in a uniquely awful position here, which the Tories weren't, which is that half of them are probably involved with the unions.
I mean, the RMT are a non-affiliated Labour union. They disaffiliated in, 2015, something like that. Sadiq Khan has been Mayor of London. He's been the Labour Mayor of London for the past 10 years, however long it's been. He's had TfL strikes. I'm sure he'll...
He said there wouldn't be any.
I don't think he did.